Hello everyone. In this video, I want we discuss this pawn endgame. Okay, I'm calling it a pawn endgame because at very soon the rook is gonna get off of the chessboard and also our white pawn, and we're just gonna be left with one pawn, and we will try to win this game with this one pawn by promoting it. Now, okay, how come? So first of all, here it's white's turn, and of course in our next turn white can simply push the pawn and promote. Let's say we're promoting to a queen, and of course black is not gonna let white keep the queen, and is gonna have to trade the queen for the rook, and what's gonna be resulting then is just a pawn endgame. Now we can get to this pawn endgame, and at the same time we can go back to the original position, and white can under promote to any other piece here. But what can we under promote to, and is it gonna make any difference? Now, to answer this question, first we need to remember that if we're gonna reach a pawn endgame, it means that we will have to promote this pawn, and to promote this g3 passed pawn, remember when we have such a video recorded that if we want to promote this pawn, our white king should control one of the key squares, and we had said that the key squares should be two ranks in front of the passed pawn and the two squares next to it. So these are the key squares of this white passed pawn. Now our king, white king, should control one of those squares, and remember we said we can do that if our king can be ahead of our passed pawn, which already is, and also by taking the opposition. Now that's how we're gonna achieve that, reach one of those squares with our king. But how are we gonna do that? Now let's see. If we push the pawn and try to under promote to any other piece, what's gonna happen? Let's say if we under promote to a rook, that would be a second option. It's gonna be the same. Black is gonna check, and black is gonna capture back. This is the position that we're getting, which was the same as when we got a queen. And if we go back to the original position, if we under promote to let's say a knight or a bishop, what's gonna happen? If it's a bishop, okay, black can simply check and capture our bishop and keep their rook. Okay, we don't want that. We can lose that game even. So let's go back. Then our other option would be trying to under promote to a knight, and which is going to result in a different position, and we have to choose which one's best for us. Now it's a check, it's a fork and a check. King must move away, and we capture the rook, and this is the position that we will get. So when we're promoting to a queen, this is the position that we're getting, and it's white's turn. When we're under promoting to a knight, this is the position that we're getting, and it's white's turn. So we need to decide which one's best for us in this pawn endgame. Which one should we try to aim to? Now, let's see. Remember we said our king, when we reach the pawn endgame, our king needs to be ahead of our pawn and take the opposition, which makes which decision here the best move? Then, of course, under promoting to a knight would be best, because when we get a knight and the black king moves away and we capture, here we are the ones taking the opposition. Now, before we take the opposition, let's also see if we could have, just because the king looks far from our passed pawn, if we could have simply pushed our pawn and tried to promote. But again, we have explained this in different videos, but we can see here each passed pawn has, let's say, even if I push it, it's going to have a square. And how do I create the square? I draw a diagonal in the direction of the okay, I draw a diagonal in the direction of the promotion rank, okay, at the back rank, and of course in the direction of the opponent's king, and continue to draw a square with my passed pawn. If the black king is in this square, which is already, it means that black is going to be able to stop our pawn from promoting and capture our pawn, and the game is going to end in a draw. Okay, so if we go back, so then definitely we're not pushing the pawn alone, because the black king is going to be able to stop it. So let's keep the opposition and try to be ahead of our pawn and try to control with our king one of these key squares to win this game. So let's see. Here black is going to move away, of course, and any other position, any other move, let's say moving away, it doesn't make much sense, because then it's going to be much easier for us to win this end game. Let's go back. So this is the move we're looking at. We take the opposition. Again, king to e6, we're taking the opposition. King to f6, we take the opposition, and here we are. We are already in a familiar position where we take the opposition. When our opponent's king moves away, we're already able to move to one of the key squares. Now, with the g pawn or with the b pawn, we usually need to be a bit more careful than with other pawns, because there is always a risk of having a stalemate. We will see how. And here again, we can push the pawn, and black is going to take the opposition, and we won't be able to get to one of the key squares of that passed pawn. So if we go back, we're definitely not pushing the pawn then. Instead, here when the black king moves away, we're moving to f6, which means that in our next move, even if we push our pawn forward, we will be on one of the key squares of that passed pawn and be able to promote and win this game. Of course, black shouldn't stay on the edge of the chessboard on the side, because then it's not resisting much. We can just push our pawn. And if black is moving to g8, we can just take the opposition. And here we said that another important position that we should keep in mind, this position where our king is on the 5th rank and the pawn 6th rank, sorry, and the pawn is right behind it. This is always winning for white, and we said it doesn't matter if it's black's turn, white's turn, white simply is going to win this game. So of course, let's just be careful a bit for this game not to finish in a stalemate, because we are on the edge of the chessboard again. It's not like a rook pawn. It's not a pawn that's on the a file or the h file, which is always a draw. If we just move this to one of the edges of the chessboard, it's always a draw, because we're on the edge of the chessboard. But here we just need to be just a bit careful, because if we're not careful, let's say if I play such a move, black's playing here, and I want to promote my pawn, if I'm not careful and push it, for example, that's going to result in a stalemate as well, because somehow the king is still in the corner of the board. So of course, so we should be just a bit careful here. For example, if I make sure that my pawn is moving forward with a check, then it's not going to be stalemate. That's one. In our positions, also we should we can be careful that to avoid this stalemate, we can just move away as well, and if it's white's turn, and just push the pawn, and it's going to be winning. Let's go back. Okay, so we were able to win this endgame. Going back, what we can summarize about this position is this, that if we have a position that's going to be simplified, okay, and we're going to have to reach to a pawn endgame, we should always try to reach the pawn endgame that is convenient for us, remembering positions that we have studied, basic pawn endgames that we have studied. Okay, so we have to reach positions that are good for us. So here, if I want to decide to promote or under promote, I'm going to have to decide based on what's going to happen later when I reach the pawn endgame, what's going to be good for me. And that's how I'm going to decide here to under promote to a knight, which is gonna make me reach a pawn endgame that's winning for white.